everybody, it is Cinnamon Cootie, your TheArtSherpa, and today we are going to be doing Jareth, the Goblin King from Labyrinth, kicking off the 13 days of Halloween, where I come every day live streaming and teach a different Halloween theme painting every single day. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hey, guys.
He is going to be tracking me also every single day live streaming with all of our cameras, so you can see every part of the action, because the idea isn't just that you watch me paint every day live for 13 days, all Halloween themed. It's that you paint along too, unless it's too spooky. And then, of course, you can absolutely skip that lesson. But I challenge you two out there on YouTube, anyone who wants to participate, to do 13 days of Halloween. Feel like you can do it too. We're so excited to have our whole art family here. I've been missing everybody a bunch.
Oh, man. Everybody's been missing you, too. We are already Sherpa and climbing. Guys, thank you for coming and joining us. We just love having you guys here. It's really awesome.
Now, if you check the description below, there's a link to the traceable that I've created for you guys. It's down there in the description, a link to that on our website. There's also the full material list, and I will be updating it with brushes that we use during this, so you can really know every part of this. My whole thing is about being very transparent. I try to never do any tricks to hide how I accomplish a goal or a technique. Also today, I just want to let you know I'm going to be using some pouncers. This is going to be giving us some little effect that are going to make the front magical orb that he likes to look through be awesome. Or at least that's my plan in my head. Hopefully that'll work out for you as well. On here, I have my traceable taped down in two places. And behind it, I have a product called Ceril paper. I have that linked down below. I like the white and the yellow, but listen, you could just rub white chalk from chalkboard on the back of this to get a very similar effect. But that's how I get this transferred on here. I'm going to show you how I do this when I get the eye on there. You saw I left the eye for you guys. So all I do is I just go over my lines. You guys would just print this out on your printer and go over your lines. And that's how you would get it on the canvas. That's all it takes. Let's see, do we have an eye now? We has an eye. Look at that, two eyes. It's magic how it works. Now, you'll notice that there's a lot of white dust off. A lot of white. That cleans up with just a very damp brush and clean water, no problem. But I find it's nice to paint the whole thing in and then worry about cleaning up the Ceril chalk later. I'm going to start this out painting some of the negative space with my blue paint here. So this is Phthalo Blue. Let's go over the colors just real quick verbally so you guys know what we're using. I've got alizarin crimson, quinacridone magenta, phthalo green, titanium white, phthalo blue, Mars black, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, doxazine purple, cad red light, cadmium yellow, and more titanium white, because really you need always about twice as much white as you need of any other color. I'm going to start out with just a little bit of my blue, black, and white to work out some background stuff. You guys ready for some background stuff?
Oh, yeah.
So,
oh, my.
What?
We just looked over there. There's like 500 people in the room.
Hi, everyone's ready for Halloween. Are you all ready for this? I am ready for this. I love everybody that's been in the event. That's been really fun because we've done a little extra. I showed some different sketches and ideas and things I was working through when I was going, ooh, what will I do with this? And I wasn't 1,000% sure how I wanted it to go. So I have put out my Mars Black, my Phthalo Blue, and my Titanium White. I'll put everything else to the side for the moment because I don't need it yet. And I'm going to start by scumbling in. When I say scumble, it's kind of like a scratchy, fun little brush stroke. A blue background. I'm going to use a number 8 bright. This is a Cambridge, so it's a mix of boar bristles and synthetic filaments. I'm going to get the brush wet. I'm going to drag off the extra. I'm going to first just pull some straight blue in here and get just a smidge. I'm going to sneak over to the white. Sneaky, sneaky, sneak. Boop, boop,
now,
boop.
For the
Just
uninitiated.
pulling in some white.
Yeah, for our uninitiated.
Oh, for the uninitiated.
This is a homage to David Bowie.
Yes.
And
his
Jareth
role in a movie called Labyrinth.
in a movie called Labyrinth.
You should totally watch it.
And if you have not seen this, you should just, as
I
soon
think
as you're
it
done.
was Jim Henson's last movie.
Yeah.
So it's sort of an important work to see, and it's one I deeply and deeply love. If you like the dark crystal, same artist did this.
Yeah.
And so it's really gorgeous. Let's go boop, boop, boop with our white paint, get a little of our blue seed, just barely kind of lightens up and reveals it. And I'm on the edge of the brush here, making this curved brush stroke around Jareth the Goblin King's hair. For those of you who are, you can also Google it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of fandom out there for this. The fandom is strong, not just for David Bowie, but for this storyline. So I'm just bringing this around. I don't take this too far down because I've got to have like a black space for the shoulder coming right about here. So I'll move that back up. I'm just making sure I've got this sort of magical, mystical blue back there as I illuminate it. So I know we have some Labyrinth fans here today.
Oh, yes, yes. And many echoed that it was the best movie ever.
Oh, you know, I can't disagree with that at all because I love it too.
Now,
I have all my favorite moments in the movie, and I have my favorite music. And honestly, I just think Connolly never looked better, and it was a lot of fun. And the puppetry was just so fantastic. The designs on all the puppets.
now
You
this,
can see I'm just brushing this in. See this curve of this brush
yeah.
stroke? I'm going to come back with the hair and create the halo effect from this photo and try to affect this. If you guys are wondering, this is fan art. So this is for your personal enjoyment and education only.
Yeah. And
that's what this is for.
Now, this bluish kind of scruffly background really kind of breaks that background up and makes everything pop, right?
A little bit. It really helps it pop. It gives it some dimension, so it's not just a black background. And it's going to add to the mystical fun of everything that we have going on here. And I'm going to bring it along there, but not so much, because I've got to play with our wonderful orb, the values around the orb, to get that effect going. So I'm going to keep the blue closer to the shoulder and not really get too much into the orb at this stage.
So it's
just
okay.
a little bit here.
It's okay to be loose.
Be very loose.
And you don't have to get exact the brush strokes that you're getting.
No, don't worry about getting exactly these brush strokes. I'm just going back and forth. My pressure's very light. Look at this, just back and forth on the tip of this brush here. And I'm just brushing around. I'm lightly there. The brush is not soaked with water. So it's dry brushing over the surface. A lot of the black is showing through. It's just a very kind of rough halo of color. I'm going to rinse out thoroughly and vigorously, like you do. And I know I've got my little orb here, but I'm going to want to put some floating ones kind of around in this background. And I'm going to actually use my smallest pouncer. I'm going to come get some white onto the pouncer. And how I do that is I push down into it and I twist back and forth. And let's come right up above the hair here. And let's put a little bit here. Just very light pressure. And I press in and I twist. I can layer and I can avoid layering just by how I choose to arrange these little areas. And come here. I'm definitely going to want some of this to be peeking out from different parts of the character. And this is going to give us an extra little texture. You can see it just creates some dimensionality, again, in what would be maybe a boring background, but we do this nice effect, and we get a little more drama. So now we have those little magic sparkles happening around there. We've got a really pretty background. People are going to be like, ooh, how'd you do that? And you're going to be like, I'm so special.
Magic sparkles.
Magic sparkles. Darn, can I hand you the sponge? I forgot to bring us.
Yeah.
So what you should be doing, what I'm going through right now is I forgot to bring a way to rinse out the sponge, because you always want to rinse these out right after you use them. Otherwise the paint can dry on them. You can use any pouncers. You don't have to have my brand pouncers. I mean, I love mine. I'm into them. We designed them for a reason, but you know, you can also just stamp that out with whatever pouncers that you have. They're in craft stores all over. Pretty common tool. Sip coffee. Well, that looks very good. I'm pretty happy with that.
Can I sip coffee?
Well, if you must.
Mmm.
I'm going to go back into
Coffee.
my dark color. I'm going to get my blue, just my blue, and I'm going to work right into my orb right now. Right now. You'd think I'd finish this last, but we're going to go right up in here into the beginning. You didn't know we'd go right into it in the beginning, did you?
I did not.
Didn't. And the reason we're going to hit this early is this is floating in towards Jareth. And I want to get a lot of this detail work on this done while it's still wet. I'm going to get a little of my white into my brush, making a much lighter blue color. And I'm going to come right here. I'm going to brush down. And then look, I'm going to come in and go kind of swirl this around. We're going to make all the reflections that we might be seeing in this orb. Because glass reflects and bends the light around it. So you want to create these values, but it'll be in the high reflections and the deep shadows that this really starts to take shape. So you can come right back into your black if you want to. I'm going to add this black right here in the upper kind of right quadrant of the orb, and I'm going to just brush a little of that shadow value back. You can see that. Let's add another little bit right there. And maybe around this back end. Once I know how I'm going to really shade this orb, I'm going to come around with this dark value all the way around this. Then I can rinse out and very carefully transition a little color around it on this side. Let's go real light into our blue. So we've added a lot of white there. And come around the back here. Just to show, I'm wiping off the extra water. I had a little too much water on there. Just the value. I'll save that little spot behind it of this little orb. See how we go?
Yeah.
Come layer that in. So now we can clearly see the ball that's going to be floating there in front of him. And we're going to do a cool thing. We're going to grab our green and we're going to pull this out now. And we're going to get blue all over our hand. Be sure and copy that as well.
Yes, make sure you do all of that.
Do all of that as well. And I'm going to get a slightly smaller brush so I can have some detail control. I'm going to use my number 2 bright. I'm going to dip in my water. I'm going to load up with my green and I'm going to get a little of my blue and I'm going to mix them together. This makes a turquoise. I'm going to get a lot of white into that and make a light value. And I'm going to come along here on the inside, just inside my dark color. Just add a little bit of that. Just pop this turquoise in there. Get maybe even a little more white in there. On this side. Pull a little of this reflection in here along this edge. And we're going to be playing this dark value and the reflection value. I'm going to make another little kind of curve. See, I'm brushing down, but I'm curving too.
Yeah.
There we go, brushing down and curving. Lightly stroking up the inside, on the edge, on the tip of these bristles. Go. See, it's starting to reflect up, and that's what we're looking for, is those spaces that reflect up. Now I've rinsed out, and I'm going to come back with my very crisp brush. The nice thing about a brush like this is a Ruby Satin number 2. But any brush that you have that gives you a crisp line will help you here. I'm going to come around this with that dark line. So it's nice and sharp, the way it would be if we saw it out there. I'm going to get some of my white on here. It can have a little bit of the blue, but it needs to be quite bright. Get a reflection there. Get a reflection right here next to each other. Let's put a bright one right here. And I'll tap the brush. See how I start tap it out to make it like little highlight, little reflection. And already it's like in the highlights, like water. In the highlights is where reflections actually happen. I'm going to go ahead and add a reflection at the top of the ball right there. So they look kind of messy in the ball, but when you zoom away, it gives you that orb, doesn't it?
It really looks cool.
And I may make sure that this one is clean to the edge of the orb, if that makes sense. I don't want this reflection. I'm not making a flare. So I'm going to make sure that this reflection is all about the edge of the orb. And I think I'll pop a few coming down. I may even do a backlit one right here. Let's see how we're doing.
Yeah.
Now we got a glass orb that's floating towards Jareth. Towards our David Bowie, whom we're very excited to paint. Are we all excited to paint David Bowie?
Very much so.
Best part of the whole thing, right? So really where this is going to be important for us is in the eyes. And there's a lot actually about David Bowie's eyes that you may or may not know. A lot of people think they're two colors, but they're not. Actually, what's happened is on one of the eyes, the iris is blown out and is quite large, and that makes his eye appear darker in a different color. Now, even though we know they're both the same color, we're actually going to lean into that effect just to emphasize that, making that more like the character we're painting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I gather myself. Do we have any questions?
Let's see here. Mostly, let's see. What I would say is that I wish I could show this to you, but there's just a song and dance that's going on in here, and yes,
A song and dance.
There's.
Does it remind them of the Babe?
Well,
The Babe with the power. Hoodoo.
I'm just saying you could just say word for word what's being sung by a community of people. It's like
you can see this on the side.
I just can't tell you how wonderful
at this particular stage of the journey, because when I do, I apparently stop teaching art.
I think that what I would say is you guys rock. I love all of you, and I just keep singing. Yeah, I've never seen so many people sing together and chat.
Because they all remember Dance Baby.
They do.
All right. I'm putting out yellow ochre and alizarin crimson. MIM. I'm going to be a little whimsical, which is why I had pulled some cadmium and some quinacridone in here. I'm going to put out a little of my cadmium yellow if I can, though I don't think I can.
No, it says no.
It says no.
There's a bucket of paint to your left on the floor.
Is there?
I'll get it.
Yeah, I can't. I give up on that color. I hope the dog does not get into it. All right, I've got some white here, yellow ochre, alizarin crimson. I have a little Dox purple, which I hope, yeah, you'd have to dump that. It's that yellow. No, we need cadmium yellow. Oh. Okay. So, air is the enemy of acrylic paint, and the design on these caps is not ideal. And while I am fanatical about the paint, the caps are not my favorite. They are, however, going through a redesign. I think there's some left in here, so I'll put out a little bit of there. So I've got my yellow ochre, my cadmium yellow, my alizarin, and my purple. And I can go ahead and put out a smidgy smidge of my quinacridone magenta and my cadmium red light. You could use cadmium medium. What you just want is this warm yellow, warm orange red, and the magenta.
Cap's frustrations.
Cap frustration is great among this Jedi is annoyed at caps. Is so annoyed at caps. I think I'm going to get another of the same size brush, and that's just because I had a lot of blue in that one, and I'm not sure I got it completely out, and I don't want to put any green value into the skin tone.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pull out a little of my yellow ochre, and I'm going to grab some of my alizarin. I'm going to mix these together. I may even put out a smidge of my burnt sienna. That's not going to be just for the hair. I think that might actually be my balancer out for my skin. Skin is basically, you know, your red and a yellow and your white into a peach, right? But obviously any of us who've painted a little bit go, but it's a lot more than that because sometimes it's really hard to make skin tones. And I'm going to want to make a European fair skin tone. So that's why I'm working my alizarin in my yellow ochre. When I have this tomatoey rose peach, I'm going to wipe out my brush. And interestingly enough, I'm going to use this as a shadow. I can always get a little of my Dox purple into it to make a dark shadow. See how I did there? The purple and the yellow gray each other out, and this does a really lovely job of giving me a deep, ruddy shadow underneath the jawline here.
Ooh, it really does.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I'm going to take the corner of my brush and just kind of tap out a little bit of a shadow right here. If you have trouble controlling your brush, you can always move to a smaller brush. Don't feel like you're ever just stuck. I'm just going to bring in another little shadow between the eyebrow and the nose. Let's come here and add this shadow here. We're blocking in, aren't we? I can, underneath where I know I'm going to be bringing down hair.
There are many people saying that they have Labyrinth planned on this upcoming weekend celebration.
Do you guys?
They're in the Labyrinth mood, and there is going to be definitely some dancing.
You should totally do that.
And you know, hanging with the babe.
The babe with the power. So I'm going to make sure I have a little shadow here at the jawline. Is very angular features, and so you want to catch those shadows, otherwise you're going to lose. You're going to lose Bowie, and you don't want to lose Bowie. Do you want to lose Bowie?
No.
Nobody wants to lose Bowie. Don't be the one that loses Bowie. Keep a hold of your Bowie.
This is turning out so good.
And I'm going to come under his eyes with this dark value too, and just sort of wiggle the brush back and forth. And because you guys are painting along, I'm going to have John actually do something we don't always do. But I want to make sure that you guys are really able, I'm getting a little more purple, and I'll move that into the skin tone. And make sure that right here at the underturn of the chin, so not just here at the little creases of our little pouty lips or down our little chin, but we have this little undervalue at the chin and under our eyes and down our very narrow structured nose. So these are things to keep in mind when you're painting somebody famous. Now, John is going to take a little tour with the up-close camera and let you see all the places that I put shadows. I'm going to rinse out my brush.
Yeah. And
so just take a minute and look at that. If you need to screenshot it, screenshot it. Those are the places you're going to want to get your shadows.
yeah, that really and you know what's I've looked at enough of these under paintings now that you can really tell. I mean, like that really and as I slowly back out, you can really see his face coming in, and the way that that you've got that blue background. It's going to look really cool. I'm looking forward to this.
We're going to do it loose. We're going to be a little bit abstracted, and that's going to give us some forgiving elements to our figure, but we do have to catch some key things or we're going to lose the whole face. And as I have said about 1,000 times in my show, I paint people, but I don't consider myself a portrait artist. So this is something I even have to center myself and think about. So just know that you're not alone in that journey. Now I'm going to take my brush size down a little bit. I'm going to come down to like a 4 because I want to really work some small features and I don't want to be struggling for the space. I'm going to dip in my water. I'm going to, oh, so you can see the blue is in there. I'm going to swirl that around so it's all loaded into my brush. See how I've got it all loaded in? And I'm going to get into my white. And as I pull the white into this, let's dip in the water, 2 drops is the amount of water that we're putting in this to improve the flow. Get a little more yellow. And what I'm doing, I'm pressing the paint out of the brush. Can you guys see me doing that?
Yeah.
Pressing the paint out of the brush. Just lightening it. Let's get some light values going in here. So right here, let me press out some paint. I got way too much loaded in. Right here in this under space, we've got a little bit of a highlight. I'm going to just scribble some of this back and forth. Pretty bright highlight happening right here. And then up along the brow line, we have a nice, bright, shocking highlight coming up. I'll tell you what, if Jeffree Star was around when they were styling this movie, this makeup would be even more on fleek. He'd have been like, let me show you how that's done. I actually have really been kind of amazed at the strides made in makeup. Now I'm going to take that, those are my light highlights. I'm going to take some of my skin tone and go back into that master mix there. And you can see that this is a shade down from the highlight, isn't it? It's still light, but it's a shade down. I'm going to come down and catch some nostril. Catch some nostril, come under here. Let's start to fill this all in. We're letting a lot of the background show up. I'm going to come up the jawline right there. There we go. What's funny?
Bree says, without Bowie, there would be no Jeffree.
Without Bowie, there would be no Jeffree, and I imagine Jeffree would tell you that. Yeah, pave the way for a lot of people to be themselves.
There's a lot of people agreeing with your sentiment, and yes, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, he would have. Like Jeffree would have been like, "Come on, man, you've got the most amazing bone structure. Let me do this." But somebody had to do this makeup first. I'm just finding those values. So I've started to that in there, and we're starting to pick up those big block shades, right? Come over here. Yeah.
Now, I think that you're going to have a lot of people trying out this painting that probably wouldn't have otherwise.
Really?
There's been several people who said that unless they would have never tried to do Bowie, to paint a portrait of Bowie.
He's hard to paint. Very angular.
But with they have a lot of confidence that you're going to show them up the
no
mountain.
Pressure on me, guys.
No pressure there, Sherpa. Just do it live and make it good. Unrehearsed, mind you.
Unrehearsed, mind you. Well, it's, how we really find our way into a portrait, isn't it? So now I've got this in, and John's going to take a look around so you can see where you would be at this stage. It's very loose. It's very raw. We're working those skin tones. We're getting those layers built up. If you've done the Big Art Quest for it with me, you know that this takes a minute to work out. So what's going to be very important for you if you're new to painting, and this is a good painting to do if you're like 10 to 20 paintings into your journey. You're still a really new painter. You're still learning techniques. You're still learning how layers happen. You're still learning how to mix skin tones. But it would be a rough, like, very first ever in your life painting. I'm not saying don't do it. Definitely go for it. Always have fun. But just know, like, where you would be at in your art journey for it to be, like, the dry brushing technique and the scumbling and the way we bokeh to be just a little bit easier. So keep in mind that there's, like, 3 stages of beginners. So don't be hard on yourself. Now, I've still got my little skin tone in here. And I've got everything sort of like loosely scumbled and worked out. I'm going to dry brush. You can see I'm sort of dry brushing up towards the eye, coming down towards the nose. I'm going to take a little bit of this mild highlight right here. And honestly, I think the shadow could come up even deeper, even further. So I'm going to get a little of my purple and a little of that main skin tone that we had going. Just really work that out. I'm going to be like right here, I'm going to narrow this even a little bit more. This is a very deep dark space right here. It's going to be a whole lot of us working that out. I'm going to pull this back down, this very angular jaw and cheek set. You don't want to lose it. Just softly, my brush is so soft over this canvas surface, and it's almost like I'm dusting a blush. If you're wondering how I'm getting that. And I'm going to keep this dark value as I come up here. And you know there's like some of this coming up off the eye, right? Up into the hair. And then down here. Make sure. And it's very rare for a face to have this much of an inset on that reflection. I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to get into my number 2. Now it's going to be sewn. Let's let that rest for a second. With the skin tone, I'm going to want to layer it. So let's let that dry. Let's make sure our brushes are rinsed out. I might need John to grab me some fresh water. It might be a good time for you guys to get some fresh water.
You need some fresh water?
Pretty soon. Before I go into the next layer of skin tones, I'm definitely going to want some fresh water. And let's make sure that we have the outfit we're going to be layering the hair onto and the reflections on the leather really kind of represented. So in this particular case, I'm going to change this up by doing my black and my brown together. See how we're doing? The burnt sienna and the black. And it will still look black to your eye, but the warmth of that brown, honestly, is going to impact how everything looks. And I'm going to pull this shoulder space in with that. I'm wiping off because my brush is a little bit too wet there. I'm going to rough all that in. And I might be losing some of the hair that I was layering over, but that's okay. Get a little, again, black and brown. It should look more black than brown. You're going to come up the neck and have this collar. The collar is high to the chin, up the neck towards the hair. Bring that down. And then take this off the shoulder. This is a very fitted outfit. And you can see all the white is going. But now I have this warm brown. And I'm going to make sure that I have a nice little yummy bit of it over here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a lot more brown mixed into it. And I'll come right here and bring down this neck area and pull that in. See how I come from that point of the chin and bring that down? Pulling that in. Some of you just figured out this is also how you paint Trent from 9 Inch Nails. Just saying. You might be like, wait.
You know,
this solves so many problems. There's everyone in the Cure. Done.
Eddie Izzard?
Eddie Izzard. Done.
Yeah.
So these subtle shadows, which I'm sure the camera is struggling, I'm putting them right here.
The entire cast from Rocky Horror Picture Show?
No, they're very colorful. That's just not understanding.
But I mean, the angular,
right
these lines, this is going to help you with all of that.
It really does, because you're just looking for these highlights. Now I've got to make a very bright highlight, so I'm going to take this brown and black and white to make a nice warm gray. I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to start with this, right on the shoulder. And let's bring this down and across. And then you're going to bring this very lightly, almost dry brush down. You can even add a little highlight right there. A little bit to the outside of the neck.
That brown is really hard to see. It's very close. It's very close.
To your naked eye, this cool color versus this warm color really pops, even though the painting is dark. And that's why I do it. Like, why you do those things? Because that's why. I'm going to bring this highlight down here, coming across where this shoulder might be. Let's see how we're doing there. Let's back up. All right, so we've got some of that leather popping. Leather, pop, pop. Leather, pop, pop. Now, I'm going to get some white, some just white. I'm going to come right here, right across the top. Pop a little bit in right here. I'm going to bring a little of that reflection across here. Let's very lightly tap that shoulder. Add just a smidge there, right in the center. A little highlight there. I'm going to just tap down. See where we're at. Oh, look, we've got a reflective little surface. Now, rinse out, get your pure black, and make sure that this edge is just the darkest black you can think of. Come underneath this with just some of your pure black through there. It's just a nice thing to value these dark values. I'm going to block a little bit here. And then John's going to go and he's going to take a little tour around this. I'm going to talk about it so you understand what we did there, because up close, it's very crazy. I'm going to get a little white. It's very messy, right? But when you back up, the right reflections placed a couple places suddenly make a lot of impact. John's going to show you right there. So you can see that we've taken our main tone of black and we've warmed it with brown. We've made a smidge, like one shade higher highlight, and we blocked in all the places that we would have reflections on this jacket. Then we've worked our neck, and we're working our shoulder here. We've got a deep value here. We've got like a gray-brown highlight here with a pop of white, little pops of white, and there's a couple places I'm saying we need to have a pop of white and a deep, deep value. So first, I'm going to come along that neck. I'm going to grab this gray and I'm going to lighten it a lot. I'm using the number 4 here. I'm going to tap, 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 and another little row, tap, tap. You see that? I'm going to tap this down here. Let's get just one more little pop. There we go. All right, let's back up and see where we're at now. Okay, so I'm happy with that.
Oh yeah, it looks really good.
So now we're there. Eyes are there, face is blocked in. We have some shadows worked. You can see that there's planes of his face. They appear to be coming closer to us. There's planes of his face. They appear to be going further away. I got my white all messy, so I'm going to put a little more white.
Now, they were wondering, are you going to be painting in his hand there, or is that just going to be a floating glow?
This is, if you think about it in the series, there were several spaces where the balls came floating in or went places.
Yeah.
And in my experience, every time I add hands, that's like, you guys are like, you'll get through the face and you'll be feeling really awesome about it. The 2-fingered hand, that is harder to do than you think. So like, you know how we did on the night? I throw those in on occasion because I want you guys to do them, but where I know it's a super important painting, I take those elements out because one, they're not compositionally necessary, and 2, as a beginner, they're going to be one of those things that's going to be like really asking you to take a big, big, big leap on the parkour course of art. That's my new metaphor today. Okay. All right. Fresh water.
Fresh water? Okay.
Fresh water.
I think that's the call. I think that's the subtle cue of husband.
I could get it, and you could answer. We could do questions, and they could look at the canvas, or not. You know, whatever. Yes. No. When his hair comes in, he's gonna be fabulous. So fabulous. It really is gonna be gorgeous when his hair comes in. He's really gonna feel like himself, which I'm excited about. But again, it's really about making sure that you've got kind of this diamond in the face and making sure that these angles are well spoken about before you even try to like soften things out. But again, because we've done things sort of rough, it gives us some forgiveness around the piece as we're working. Okay. So boom, ding, boom, boom, deciding what I'm going to use. What? What, Fevel?
Yourself? Oh,
Oh,
good.
did you?
I muted my headset.
I'm pulling out my yellow ochre again, and I'm going to get my alizarin, and we're going to mix them together, making that base of that skin tone that we're liking so much. And I'm going to get a little of my white, starting to lighten it. Now, if you want to, it's a good time to smidge in a little of the quinacridone.
Smidge it in.
Smidge it in. Well, skin tone has a lot going on with it.
You know you want to. Just smidge it in.
Smidge, smidge, smidge. I love finding colors on the palette. I'm going to come right here.
I don't like losing colors on the palette. I don't like losing colors on the palette.
You don't?
You said you like finding them. I don't like losing them. I lose them all the time.
This is, again, a Ruby Satin. This is a number 6. We're just working that next layer. Let's put a little tap right here. I'm going to put my vision enhancers on because my eyes are fatigued from this weekend. I had kind of a busy weekend with family in town visiting. So sometimes I find like my eyes will get like tired, if that makes sense. I'm making a very light color.
There you go.
Because there is one there. There's one here. Very pointed at the end of the nose. Very straight. Don't lose that. Very straight nose bridge. So this should be a highlight, and it should be very straight. If it loses it straight, you're going to lose Bowie. You're going to lose Bowie. Don't you lose your Bowie now. He's with you. He's watching. Don't lose your Bowie. Get your purple in there. Got to work out a shadow, right? Come right along here. Just along this. Quite dark along the lid. Quite dark around the outer edges of this eye. And bringing that up. Because, you know, Goblin King. Saying. Is that funny?
Yeah. How do you like that new colored palette?
I love my new eye palette. I really do. I bought these. You guys sent me links to this company. I saw them before at NAMTA. Been very interested. Went out and bought a bunch. And then I actually wrote them and said, hey, can you send me some more stuff to look at? And they did, because they have a lot of safety stuff that people need. And then on top of that, I love that they have this wood tone. I enjoy working that very much. Now I'm going to get into my black here, making this very deep value, but I've got my skin tone mix into it. I'm going to make sure that I place this right here. And it kind of comes forward at an angle to the bridge of the nose. And under the eyebrow there. Begin here. And then interestingly enough, you can bring this up here. Like we're doing. Come right there. Everything here is quite dark on the inside shadow. Bring that right there. Just that little shadowing. We've got that in shadow. Dip into that. Come under the lip just a little bit. I don't want that to be too wet. I get a little more of the black on there. There's my skin tone with my black. Under the nose. And again, there's a little shadow made there. The nostril. And then, you know, right here along this little nostril, there should be a little shadow. And then you should be coming up at sort of a steep angle. I'm going to tap this in to sort of get it right there. Come out a little bit to the nostril, and then you can even bring some of that back in. I'm going to carry this long and through. And then kind of like it's interesting, it's very similar to the crystal ball. There's an interesting shadow right there that curves. Stronger little shadow here. And then let's really deepen this right here. Just right at where the hair would be. And then some of this coming in at the jawline. I'm just dusting this there. Doing pretty good. We're like building that up, aren't we?
Yeah.
Getting pouty. Getting pouty with it. All right, pulling out more yellow ochre. Do you have it? Yes, you do. Do you have it? Yes, you do. Deep breath. Everything's okay. You're just painting. Don't have to be stressed. I'm pulling all this together, mixing again my alizarin crimson and my yellow ochre, and I'm thoroughly mixing them. And I'm going to grab some of my white. I'm going to lighten it into my skin tone today. Boom, boom, boom. And always make it a little more yellow. Warm it up if you want. And come up here. Above the eyebrows. Sort of add this color value right here. Nice as it builds up, it really is. Dip in the water. I'm going to get a little more white into it. And say, okay, right here, a lot more highlight right above this brow. And there's a little bit coming up right here. Just a lot of bone. What you've got to realize is there's a lot of bone on Bowie.
Yeah.
A lot of bone on Bowie, which makes him a joy to paint, to be really honest, because he has clear facial planes. We should all look at this and go, woohoo! Thank you, Mr. Bowie, for your very clear facial planes. Now I'm going to bring a little highlight down from this eye. Right here, kind of coming down. And then into this cheek space, right there. A little triangle down. And what's wonderful is we've got a very bright highlight right here.
Ooh, interesting. There's been interesting gossip being dropped in chat.
Gossip?
Oh, so the rumor mill says that this role for here in this film was not in fact written for Bowie. It was ideally targeted for Freddie Mercury and Rod Stewart, who were both considered for the role.
Well, I'm so glad they went the direction that they did.
That's very interesting. I say gossip because I can't confirm it, but the scuttlebutt is it.
The scuttlebutt in the TheArtSherpa channel?
That is true.
Drama! I need drama so bad, thank you.
Deborah really would like to have your earrings.
Oh, thank you very much, Betsy Johnson.
Actually, you stand there. I'll go, shh, where is your ears? Can't track your ears. She's too fast. Sherpa moves too quick for me.
I'm just getting into this next color. I want to blend a color slightly closer to my highlight, but not fully as light as my highlight. That's all I'm doing. I'm just building it up. I'm painting very loosely. That's another thing to consider too, is like, even though I have a lot going on, I'm painting quite loosely. Come right here and make sure that we've got a little bit of that there. Some of this is we've got to get into the detail brush to really get it. But you need to make sure that you've got the broad strokes worked out. I really like the forehead today. That's where I'm the most happy. Now I'm going to get down into my little number 2 for a minute. And I'm going to work out some more of these details. Like let's pay attention to the nose. Let's pay special attention to the nose. Let's pull out a little of our yellow ochre, boom, 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 into our brush, but none of our skin tone. And we're going to get a little white into this. We're going to make these really crazy cool highlights that are happening. Pop highlights. So right here, I'm using just the corner of my brush to have control. There is this spectacular pop highlight coming up the nostril and coming in just a little bit. If it's a bit of a triangle. And then I've got a bit of one of these right here at the end of this nose. And then a smidge of one coming right there. You can come down the middle and say that there's some of that happening as well. Right there in the inner eye. And then what's fantastic is, I don't know if you notice, like there's this highlight coming along the side of the face that's so bright that we almost lose some of this into the hair. Down the jaw. Off the lip right here a little bit. This highlight makes this portrait just a joy. Look at that right there. Highlights are fun. So that's just the white and the yellow ochre. We're going to bring this in this side, right there, and along this outer edge. There's this crescent. If you watch makeup channels, oh no!
What was that?
That was my coffee
Oh
spilling
no!
all
Coffee
over
down! Coffee
everything.
down! All right, stunt hands out.
Oh no! I'm gonna just put this right here at the top of the crescent of the lips while John is addressing the massive mess that I have made.
On my wonderful.
Babe, I'm so sorry. Don't get electrocuted. No, that's not even funny. I'm like really genuinely worried.
Look at this. Solution.
Don't eat paint. Don't put coffee on your paint. Is it okay? It looks like such a big mess. Do you guys ever feel like this weird sense of odd shame when you spill? Like you're just like so embarrassed to have spilled? Like you're transported back to childhood when you knock a glass over and you're like, I'm so sorry. That is where I'm at right now. And it's going to be sticky because I put sugar in my coffee.
Oh, sock.
More shame.
It's not that big a deal.
More shame. More shame. So much more shame. I'm going to highlight the inside of the little lip divot right here.
As a reward.
What do I get there?
Fresh cup of coffee.
Really? I just feel bad.
No need. It's really okay.
I feel so bad. I don't know. It just... I'm going to define the little cleft here on the chin. So fun to do. It's a nice little highlight right there at the chin. Now we're going to take a quick look and see what we're doing on our highlights and our lowlights. We're going to back up. I kind of see it when I'm talking. So we should be catching that drama on this figure. Now let's have some fun with the eyebrow. So let's get our brown again and a smidge of our black. But mostly we want it still to be brown. And then come right here. Right up from the nostril, and we're going to be just making those Goblin King eyebrows. That's some real winging eyebrows, wasn't it? Wing-a-ding-ding-ding! A lot of eyebrow going on here.
Not as much as Spock, but yeah, he had some...
Yeah, he had some stuff happening with the brow line. So once you get that, I'm going to get right into my black there.
Now...
And kind of like underneath the eyebrow, even shade that a bit. Can you guys see what I'm doing? Shade that just a little bit.
Now, which of the...
And up over the eye here. And then also up over the eye. Under the eye.
Was it House or Heracus?
There we go. Yes.
That had the crazy guy with the giant eyebrows? Actually, there was a bunch of people in Dune who had crazy eyebrows.
It's the whole house Harkonnen.
Yeah, Harkonnen, the Mentats all had crazy eyebrows.
Fade Rotha.
Yeah.
I don't
No. The dude who was floating around.
That was the Baron.
That was Baron.
That was his relative. Fade was his favorite because Fade was pretty. It's a big long story. You've gotta, you know, they were like the Kardashians of their, the empire.
Of the space.
Sorry, I'm okay. People are like, wait, what?
Another movie that you should all
I'm
go
gonna
see.
take a little of my
Dune.
black and my yellow ochre together. And I'm gonna, this is so funny. I'm gonna come right under here, under the nose. Bring some of that right up there.
Boy, you're just pulling Bowie right out of that painting, man.
That's my job. I gotta get Bowie out of the painting. Get the man out of his own painting, right? And again, I don't consider myself a portrait painter. I do paint people, but I don't consider myself a portrait painter. However, I do enjoy doing this type of work. So it's fun for me. I'm gonna add a little of this right here. Come along there under the mouth. Now, the eyes are an interesting, tricky thing. A lot of people, they want to, I'm going to take a little black and, interestingly enough, a little of my quinacridone. So black and quinacridone. Wipe it off on my towel. And then I'm going to get my white. And this will tint the white. Can you guys see how it did that? So that it's not a bright white. I'm going to come inside the eye with that, where the whites of the eyes are. Dipping in water, 1 drop to improve flow. Back here. Hang around there. This is the eye with the larger blown iris. I'm going to be right here. And I'm going to have to actually switch down to a smaller brush in about half a second to finish out these eyes. This is going to take some control. So while I'm waiting on that, I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to come back into my brown and my black and hit another second layer of eyebrow. Making those nice short eyebrow strokes we're all taught to by the makeup channels. Short brow, 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 brow. Dip in water. Hair's the funnest part of this whole thing. Just if you're wondering. That's the secret sauce that we're all just waiting on.
Yeah.
Make an even deeper, darker shadow right here at this corner.
Sorry.
And maybe in there. That underneath there. Maybe a little pop there.
Keep making me
Let's
out.
do some lips, guys. So that's actually why I did these two, because I wanted to play with this. I wanted to play with the idea of the quinacridone and the cadmium. I'm going to put out a little more of my burnt sienna and hopefully not spill any more of my coffee. I'm going to add a little of my burnt sienna to this incredible mixture. Boom, boom, boom. And the top lip is thinner than you think. The temptation to give him a like the pout, like the big pout, is great, but you want to resist it. Take these lips out thin, and then right under here, still this bright color. And then as we come forward, you can go into the white with it, and it gets really interesting pretty quickly. Just getting that little bottom and upper lip here. So we want to get that shape. See, we got the Bowie mouth shape. We want to have that shape. Switching into my number 2 filbert. I'm going to grab my alizarin and a little of my yellow ochre. Come along here. Pull that out. Where this shadow is, I've got this little highlight happening here. Right where the 2 lips tap, I'm going to tap that in. Now, get some white. And along this little edge here. And then a bit into this center lip. But just a bit. They're doing just a bit. Get a little more white. And we're even going to take this right up to this top lip, this crazy reflection. We're going to pull that down. Go ahead and get your skin tone again, which is your yellow ochre and your alizarin. And grab a little of your docs because you're making a shadow color. Right here. Accentuate that shadow.
Ooh.
Pop a minor highlight above the lip with a little yellow ochre and white. Right there. Right there. And then another big, big highlight, much lighter. Coming right here. Just keep playing that space. Now, interestingly enough, there's a very important tear duct highlight I got to hit right here. And there, it's right here again. Here on the inside of the eye. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get a little of my alizarin into it, but I need it to be quite light. There we go. See me working that? I'm on the inside here. Really show that there. And we're really going to show it right here. There we go. Now, this eye is your blue and your green. Make that very bright. And we're going to start out with this dark color right here. Right there, like that. Grab your ochre, maybe some of your burnt sienna. Dip 1 drop of water in there just to make sure that it's fluid enough to flow. You're going to come to the back of this eye. We're going to make sure that there's a shadow. A little corner crease shadow. Underneath here. Move that down a bit. Come up over this lid here. Really, there was a lot of lining around the eye, and you don't want to lose that. It's okay to exaggerate it. It's going to work out well for you. Now I'm going to get my brown here. I'm going to come under here. It's not, but we're exaggerating. Trick of light. Sometimes you lean into the tricks because the tricks are your friend. If that makes sense to everybody. Really just quite dark. Just playing it quite dark. Actually make some of that heavier right there. Now, you're going to get a little of that red and black again, like what we had, and that's going to be kind of like a shadow. Get a little water into it so it flows off your brush. This part of the eye needs to be much more in shadow, and you're going to leave a thin little sliver of that right there. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Of the inside lid.
Super zoom. Nope, it's max zoom.
I'm
But you can still see it.
Take this tear duct, and I'm going to bring this back a little bit. We're going to come in and we're going to show a little of this tear duct. And you're going to come along, shadow under the lid, and along the inside of the eye. There we go. We got that going. We got pouts. We got all that.
He's got the fierceness.
We got fierce. You gotta be fierce. You can't do this like, no, I ain't gonna be fierce. You gotta be fierce. Be fierce. This pupil is bigger. Make it so. And take that line right along that eye. This pupil is not bigger. It's normal size pupil. Now I'm going to take the blue and green that I have and a lot of white. Now I'm going to come under here and I'm going to just very carefully, leaving kind of some of the dark value there. Quite good, isn't it?
It is.
Just peering at you saying, nope, not happening. I get a little bit of my black. And again, I'm going to come right over. Maybe darken that little value right there. Maybe pop those little nostrils right there. Flare them up, man. Come under the lip too while you've got it. Just create a deep shadow. Play with that shadow a little bit so that it's a little exaggerated. Now I'm going to take a little of my ochre and a little of my sienna. Now I'm going to sit there and pop a little, just a smidge of a highlight into that eye. It's such a smidge. Now you're going to get a little of your white. You're going to put some key places. You're going to put a little white right here in this iris. You're going to put a little white right there. Kind of coming out at you. I need a very thin amount of white to be like right here, like reflecting. And then just a dot for making the eyes wet. I'm going to make a light source right there. I'm going to make the light source right there. You see the light sources? Because now our eyes should be popping and glaring out at us. Now, back into your scumbly little brushes. I'm going to use my number 4. And I'm going to take my yellow ochre and a little of my black. And I'm going to mix them together. And I'm going to grab a little of my brown. I'll mix them together. And I'm going to come and create the shadow, the center of my hair, an initial one. I'm going to be building up a few layers. Coming right out. Get a little more of this. You're going to bring this right over the bang space. See how we're doing? Breaking up that forehead space a lot. Do not be afraid. He wasn't. He spiked those bangs right out. Respect the spike. This was a hard tease, and we have to recognize and respect the hard tease. If you need to get in there, I like to sometimes get a little of my purple into that yellow. They gray each other out, and it can make a really interesting deep value deep in the hair. Because we can play with color in a painting that lets us be expressive in a very special way. All right? I can come along here with this dark color. Look, I'm just playing with the direction of the hair. Being very loose and expressive. A little purple in there. Open that up. Bring that down. See, it's already bowing up.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy that we can do this. Bringing this down. You can bring some right here. Not too far forward that direction. Bringing these darker colors right here. Now,
Ooh.
what?
So they're saying that there's more rumoring in the Sherpa chat.
There's more rumoring.
Rumoring. I cannot confirm or deny, but I think this is interesting rumoring. So
I'm gonna take a little of my cad yellow, just the cad yellow. I'm gonna wipe it off on my towel while John's finding a rumor, and I'm gonna get right into my white, okay? And it's just with this, just a smidge of this cad yellow. Just, you can all barely see it. Like this would be like one of the many, many shades of white at your home department store. You guys ready?
Yes.
We have to make these highlights coming out where the hair is backlit. All right, you can tell me the rumor while I'm highlighting.
So the rumor is that he had an eye condition that caused one of his pupils to stay permanently open, and that's what caused the unusual characteristics of his eyes.
Pupil was blown out from fight.
Wait, was it a fight?
That's what I heard.
Oh, so the rumor was that there was a childhood accident. So it didn't no one said here one way or another what it was specifically from.
I think he just didn't get into it like as a thing. He was like I think his thing was like it worked out well for me.
Worked out. I got a cool eye out of the deal.
I got a cool eye, so whatever happened, he was pretty at peace with. I don't know. I mean, like I'm not on the inner Bowie circle, so I have no idea. You know, nobody told me the. Isn't that nice, that backlight on the hair?
It makes me a little envious. Should
the
straighten my hair again.
I love your hair. I love your ringlets. Don't you change your ringlets, baby. So we're just using this scruffy little number 4 brush. It's a bright. It's just giving us nice rough lines. Now around the globe, and kind of go around the globe kind of carefully, and bring that down. And here carefully. Carefully.
Ooh, there is.
Carefully, a little more yellow. Make sure that this is just really, really on this.
The rumor mill continues that perhaps there was a young maiden involved in the confrontation in his youth between himself and another young man, where he got.
Well, if you got to have your eye blown out, it's got to be for a girl. If you're going to be a rock star, that's brilliant.
He got whacked in the side of the head by a friend of his.
Hope they worked it out.
I'm.
Hope it's all worked out now. We're going to continue just bringing this forward over this little shoulder here, long and strong. See how that's looking? We're back up. All right, it's lightening up. Yep. It's lightening up, yo. I'll grab a little of this white that isn't contaminated. You can see that mid amount, that smidge of the cad really helps brighten this part of the hair as if it's caught in a floodlight, which is why I liked it. Thought it was worth adding to the palette. That's what was happening here. I'm just building this up. We're just building up these values, talking about this space, this light in the hair. I love light in the hair, I really do. Bring some of that light here. You can even bring some of this light. A couple of places it would catch bits of hair, wouldn't it? Might actually catch some of this hair coming down. And then a little lock could be caught there. Maybe some here. And let's bring down that fun little lock across his face. So I'm going to rinse out and I'm going to get back into my dark tones because I feel like I've got the crazy backlit hair going now. So let's go right into our yellow, and we can go into our brown and yellow, our yellow ochre, and our burnt sienna. bring this right down here. Nice little dark area. I might even get a little of the purple, I think, into it. Oh, too much purple. If ever you get too much purple, you just wipe back out. You're not stuck. You don't have to use it. It's not like we're going to come to your house and be like, did you use that purple paint? So I'm just bringing that through there. And get a little of my light color here. And highlight this strand of hair that came down forward. Get a little of my black and yellow together. Deep, deep value right here, right?
Yeah. Ah, the hair is really helping to make the highlights in the face, come back round.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of people that came through like midway through the painting and were like, hated it. Didn't see the whole thing. Always happens. All right, just pulling that around. Come back into my white. And you can see that's what we're doing is we're just making that space really work.
Now, you've painted in some of these things. Like Rita was just asking, why didn't you paint the hair in first and then the ball? And I guess that's because you would have had to repaint all that blue over the hair and the black over the hair.
Yeah, that's just how I wanted to work that space out first, and I felt like it would be easier for you guys to work that space out first before we got into everything on the hair.
So yeah, just how you approached it then.
It's just how we approached it. There isn't like
there's not just one way you could do things.
Yeah, there's always a myriad of ways to get through an event. And we're just trying to add some highlights here on the inside now. We've got our nice outer highlights, and I think it's just a good time to say we've done pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I think we probably painted more Bowie than we ever thought we were going to paint.
I think so.
I'm going to take my yellow ochre onto my small brush here. I'm going to turn this on the side, I think. Kind of sign right here. There we go.
Wow, I'm going to take a quick tour of this.
Yeah, take a quick tour so everybody's got it. And, we'll get a photograph of it and get it posted so you can use it as a reference.
Wow. This has really turned out amazing. And this is just a hair over an hour and 20 minutes, basically.
And we got some Bowie in.
We really did.
I hope you're okay. We're going to sandworm tomorrow. Is it time for Beetlejuice?
Yes.
Got a sandworm.
Oh, and we have all sorts
of guy that they think was the star of the thing, but I feel like it was the sandworms, right? It was the sandworms.
Now, real quick before we go, they were asking about some of the. I know we were just real quick before we go. We've got a couple events coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can check in the link in the description down below for pinners and for all of the event stuff that we have going on. There's some links in that, and for
I'm sure they probably even went up into the chat.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
And for oh man, there's just so many things we got going on.
Now, also watch our Facebook page because we'll be doing some live watercolors as well, and I think you're gonna be really surprised by some of the fun stuff that we're doing. So if you're going to see something on one of these 13 days that you think is the best thing that you've ever wanted to paint for the holiday season, I cannot wait to see all of your Bowies. I really can't. I think this is going to be a really fun project. And I just love Labyrinth, so this is great. And, they're going to be like re-releasing and having a lot of fun. So I'm hoping to see some more of this, though I don't know how you could do it without Bowie.
This is amazing. Everyone loved this. And we've just had a packed crowd. They love seeing this. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out and singing with me and having a great time in chat.
Be good to yourself. be good to each other, and we want to see you at the Easel really soon. In fact, tomorrow, because we're going to be live every day. Watch the times because they may have to change depending on our schedule.
Yes, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.